Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we have the much highly anticipated Tier 6 Premium Japanese Hybrid Battleship Issei import to review. So as always, shout out to the channel's Patreons for supporting the channel and making this review possible. As many of you know, I am not supported by Wargaming in any way, shape, or form. I am not a CC or anything like that. So these reviews and videos are supported by you guys, and the best way to support the channel is by becoming a patron. Link to that is in the description down below. There's many tiers to choose from. And if you do want to support the channel that way, just choose which one you feel most generous about. It doesn't matter if it's the smallest tier or the largest tier. Every single bit helps. And I cannot thank you guys enough for that. And a special thank you goes out to these guys up on the screen right now. So, the Issei. This is one ship that's been on quite the wild journey getting into the game. They tested several iterations of her from the super testing to testing on the test server and all of that. She's gone through quite the transformation. She's been in Blitz for quite a while though, oddly enough, and well, she's crossed over into the base game now, and she looks fantastic. I mean, this is basically the Hugo, but with its back chopped off, and I commented on how pretty the Hugo was when she got added into the game, and the same is here for the Issei. Plus, this is a historical ship with a lot of historical merit behind it. I mean, this is when Japan was getting pretty desperate with losing their carriers after Midway, so they had to start hybridizing a lot of ships to become aircraft carriers because the war in the Pacific was so aircraft carrier focused. It's very cool to see that added into the game. And I know people CVs but I mean, it's cool. Like, it's very cool, especially when you're taking the history into account. So anyway, this is going to be a very interesting ship to play and such. Before we get going on the ship itself, I just want to touch on the 25,000 subscriber giveaway. A lot of you guys have been asking, you know, is that still going on? What's going on with that? You know, we saw that 2 winners were announced for about the other 3. And I've said this at the end of a couple of videos, but I'm going to say this here at the beginning of this one just to make sure the most amount of people can hear it. If you don't care about this, check on the timeline down below. The section should be marked down there. So what's happening right now is that for whatever reason, right now, I can buy anything from my account in game. Like, I purchased the Issei to review using, you know, the method that I use to get most ships in this game, which is my credit card. But for whatever reason, when I go to the game's website right now, and a couple of you have said you're having this problem too, and I go to buy a ship for somebody else and gift it as a gift. So the winner is a fellow by the name of Noob17K. And he wants the Issei. So cool, not the Issei, I'm sorry, the key. So cool. Go ahead, type his name in. And if this works right now, I'll probably crap a brick. So, purchase as a gift is on. We've got Noob17K in here. We got the key selected. Go down to proceed to payment. And I get this message, and I've been trying all week to get this to go through. This is the same message that I've been getting. An error occurred while you were attempting to make a purchase. Please wait 10 to 20 minutes and try to make a purchase again. We apologize for the inconvenience. This is completely on Wargaming's part. At first I thought, okay, maybe something's screwy with my credit card, and, you know, it's a Russian company, so they're not letting the payment go through. But I, right now, can purchase whatever I want using the same card on my main account. For example, let's just get, what's the smallest thing in the blooms we can get right now? You know, card selected, $5 worth of doubloons, done. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but it's not my card. PayPal doesn't work either. It's something screwy with Wargaming's website. Once that clears up, we will continue the giveaway. I do apologize, but it's nothing I can really control. So that's what's going on with that. So let's go ahead and dive on into the Issei review right now. So, as normal, no modules or captain skills have been applied, so we're going to go ahead and look at her base stats and then module her out and such. So, she is a tier 6 ship. So she has a 26mm bow, 32mm torpedo plating, 26mm armor belt for your upper armor, 44mm deck, 35mm central deck, and her flight deck is 26mm on the back, and stern is 26 as well. This is all 26 back here. And her guns are 305 face, 152 roof, 229 side, and 229 rear. Alright, let's take a look at her citadel. It should be pretty much the same one from the Hugo, and it is. So it is slightly above the waterline here, and it's got a 32mm bulkhead here, 140mm bulkhead here, 76 bulkhead here, 230 back here, and this is of course all behind that torpedo protection, so it's going to be pretty difficult to get at. Although of course not nigh on Citadel, but you just got to chew through that torpedo armor first. Alright, for survivability, she has 58,700 hit points with 26% torpedo damage reduction. Her plane, she has one squadron of the M6A2 torpedo bombers. That's what they settled with giving her. They have 1,820 hit points, a cruising speed of 122 knots, max speed of 140 knots. Engine boost time is active for 10 seconds. It takes 20 seconds to reload. Get 4 planes per squadron, and that's the size of the attack too. There's a Type 5 torpedo, 2 per payload, and they have a speed of 35 knots, 2.2 kilometers, and an arming distance of 376 meters. And they detectable from 7.5 kilometers away. I'm assuming that's the planes, not the torpedoes. And you get 4 on deck, and it takes 120 seconds to reload. So that's not terrible for the restoration time. So it takes it takes literally 2 minutes for them to be restored. Alright, so the main battery, she only has 8 of these 356mm guns. They reload in 30 seconds. They have a 180 time of 45 seconds, and a maximum dispersion of 238 meters, and they cause 5,700 maximum HE damage. They have a 25% chance of starting a fire on the target, and they can pin 59mm with the HE shells. The AP shells do a maximum of 10,200 on the target. That's of course with the Citadel hit. She has a maximum range of 21.4 kilometers. Her AP shell velocity is 775 meters a second, and her HE shell velocity is 805 meters a second. Now, it will be interesting to see if these guns are as consistent and as accurate as the Hugo's guns, because the Hugo's got some very, very, very nice consistency, but she is up tier to tier 7, unlike the Issei here. Alright, secondary, she gets 16 of these 127s with a firing range of 5 kilometers. An 8% chance of starting a fire in a 5-second reload time, and they can pin 21mm of armor. So her AA, she has 11 of these single 25mm. She has 31 of these triple mounted 25s, and then she gets she gets the frickin' rocket AA. Look at that, huh? That's glorious. I wonder if it's going to be like a Hood's Rocket AA. And then she gets 16 of these. Oh, so the secondaries are dual purpose. Alright, so she actually has, for tier 6, this looks like pretty good AA. It makes sense since she's half CV. Alright, maximum speed of 24.5 knots, a turning circle radius of 750 meters, a rudder shift time of 14.8 seconds, and a concealment of 15.4 kilometers base. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and module her and kit her out, and I will see you guys right back here. Alrighty, she has been moduled and kitted out. Oh, hold on, let me put her flags on her to fully complete it. The det flag and the ramming flag on, just for good measure. Alright. Get my economy flags on as well. Let's put a little couple party flags up on there. Alright, there we go. Alright, so for the module build, she only has access to battleship modules, not CV modules, so we went with main armaments mod 1, damage con 1, aiming systems mod 1, and damage con 2, standard battleship stuff there. And for her consumables, she only gets damage con and a heal. I thought maybe she would get DFAA with that rocket AA, but nope, just damage con and a heal. And I put Yamamoto on here, and she gets access to only battleship skills, no CV skills, which I guess makes sense. She's more battleship than CV. So we got a standard battleship build in here. We got preventive maintenance, MLG turrets, adrenaline rush, basics of survivability, superintendent, concealment, and then fire prevention. So now she has, for her guns, she has a 36-second 180 time now with a maximum dispersion of 221 meters. And for her concealment, it's now down to 13.8, which is pretty good by tier 6 standards. And for her maximum speed, it's now 25.7 knots with the speed flag. So this is going to be an interesting ship for me to try and play because I'm pretty good in battleships, but CVs not so much. And I guess we'll see how well these planes perform. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and hop into Battl. I'll meet you guys there with the voiceover after playing her for a bit. Alright, good people of YouTube, voiceover Mountbatten here. And well, this has been a bit of a roller coaster for me playing the SA for the first time. So, alone, this ship is mediocre for the average battleship player because it's also half a CV. Meaning that if you aren't very good at CVs, you won't really do too well in the SA. So, before we get into that, there's a couple things I wanted to point out about the SA. I really like the way that her planes work. You can't just launch them right away. There's a 2-minute timer at the beginning of the match, which it's definitely a big plus because that was one of the things I was really worried about when these hybrid ships were announced. If they were going to function like aircraft carriers, they're going to have their planes at the start of the match, and then, well, that's it. But it seems like it is an armament type, and it's not a consumable, so it has to load up at the beginning of the match, which is very good for game balance. Now, she pretty much does have unlimited planes. They regenerate every 2 minutes, regardless, it seems. It doesn't seem to function like a normal aircraft carrier's planes. So, you do have unlimited planes, but they're only used every 2 minutes. Considering that the way most matches go now, the game's over with around the 10-minute mark, you can only get maybe about 5 flights of planes off in the average match. Now, of course, if the game goes on, you can get more off, but you can only get 10 flights off if the match goes for the full 20 minutes. So, that's a pretty good bit of balancing right there. Now, another thing, too, is that the torpedoes that these planes drop, they are not very heavy hitting. They only do, realistically, about 2,000 damage a hit. Unless you're hitting something with absolutely terrible protection, you're not really going to be doing too much damage to them. Like on the Turpets, I hit it on its nose, and I did about 4k damage. Now, if you get all 8 torpedoes to hit, yeah, that's a bit more damage, but by yourself, that's rarely going to happen. By yourself, the torpedoes serve more of a purpose of forcing a ship to maneuver. That way, either you or your teammates can shoot them with your guns, or if there's a target that's just sitting still, like a CV or a battleship, then yeah, you can get most of your torps to hit, and you get about 10k damage with those torps. What's also is really cool is the way that the planes take off. They take off via rockets, which is an amazing little detail that they added in. The planes launch via rockets, fly up in the air, the rockets run out. There's actually a bar that is depleted as time goes on, and then they drop the rockets and you go on about your way, and that is an awesome little detail that they added that in. And it actually allows you to get these tier 6 planes up to 210 knots post-launch for a few seconds, so that's pretty fun. It's not really usable, obviously, unless you are, of course, really close to the enemy ships. Then I suppose you could try and use that to attack. But yeah, it's a fun little detail, and nice that they added that in. And also the animations of the catapults actually moving out of the way for the rear turrets is really cool as well, and a really nice detail. That's what I was wondering when I was actually looking at her report, is how in the world is turret number 4 gonna do anything with those catapults in a way, but they move out of the way. Speaking of number 4 turret and number 3 turret, the rear turrets on this ship are pretty much useless if you're being chased, The front turrets are actually going to be your most used turrets when you're being chased because they have that huge flight deck in the way. So if you get chased in the ship, you're going to have a bad time. Mostly because, well, you only go 25 knots with the speed flag, so you're not going to have a very good time. And again, with the rear turrets being pretty much unusable in that situation, yeah. Some other unique things about the SA, she handles like a friggin' bus. She feels very weighty. Again, she's not very fast, so you got to be really careful about your positioning. That was something that I was struggling with too. The positioning of this ship. Do I sit in the back and act like a CV and use my guns when I need to? Do I play it close and try to use my guns or use my planes more? It was a very, very hard formula to come up with. So what I wound up doing was I would play from mid-range and use islands for cover, send the planes out, you know, get a run or two off, well, only one run off, and then go back to using the guns. And doing that, it really didn't work all that well. The highest damage game I had by myself was only like 72,000 damage, which is pretty decent for a tier 6 battleship, but you would think with the planes it would do more, but it really doesn't because the torpedoes are so low damage. And plus your rear turrets are unusable in a lot of situations because their firing angles are atrocious. You have to be almost perfectly broadside to get those last two turrets in the fight, which is of course terrible for a battleship. Now, when you are bow onto the situation, the angles are much better, but anything besides that, it's just not that great. But that's what you got to give up to have half a CV on a battleship. And what's really aggravating too is I don't know if it was just me and the matches I was having, but like the guns were, I mean, the Huga's guns, and I do like the Huga's guns, but she has more of them, and she has the reload booster. And for some reason, they were being nice and consistent, but I was just getting overpins or bounces. And I know, you know, they're 14-inch guns, but like it got freaking frustrating after some time because you do only have 8 guns, and they're such a small caliber, even for its tier, that it's just like, ah, God, I wish I had something bigger, or I wish they wouldn't bounce or overpin as much. I got very few pins, unless I caught a ship completely broadside. But yeah, anyway, so what really works with the SA, and what works very, 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 very well, is playing with a friend. In this match right here, I've got Drobot with me, and we ran into each other in this match, and we divvied up. And just look at what we're able to do with just 2 of us coordinating. And you can div up with 3 of these things in a division, because they aren't classified as a CV. They're a battleship. So you can have a triple div of just SAs, focusing down one target at a time, and it is extremely effective. But just with the 2 of us, we gave this whole flank hell. And it was very, very, very good at that. And yeah, this is definitely a ship you play with your friends that also have this ship, which is pretty doable because the ship's only $27 US. So yeah, I mean, you guys have probably seen some of the goofy stuff we're able to do with this match because you just throw so many torpedoes at the enemy in one flight. So when you've got 2 of them pincering a ship or dumping them on the same side, they're not going to be able to dodge all of it, and they're going to take a decent bit of damage. And if you throw a 3rd in on there, good lord, it's gonna hurt them pretty badly. Now, unless it's a very low tier ship, it's not gonna, you know, remove half their health at one point in time, because still the torpedoes do so little damage per run. But when this thing's top tier and there's 2 or 3 of y'all in a division focusing, yeah, you're very, very effective. Now, this ship does not up tier well at all, even to like tier 7. Most of the matches I had in this thing, the first 3 matches I had were tier 8 matches. And it was terrible. You have 8 14-inch guns. You've got terrible firing angles. Your ship can only go 25 knots. You've got 1 flight of planes that aren't the most robust planes out there. They're pretty quick by tier 6 standards, but they're not the most robust planes. Your torpedoes don't really do a whole lot of damage. And especially when you get to tier 8, some of those ships, their torpedo protection is so good, you're only doing like 1,500 or 1,400 damage with 1 torpedo hitting. So it's like nothing. And in those matches, I was getting like 40k damage, 50k damage. Surprisingly, still coming in like the top 5 on my team. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, that's what was going on when this thing gets up tiered. It up tiers terribly. Because now you're dealing with all the major problems that a battleship has to deal with when it gets up tiered, and all the major problems that a carrier has to deal with when it gets up tiered in one ship. So you're just like ultra gimped at that point. Now I'm sure if there's a division of 2 or 3 of y'all all together, it would be a lot better, but still, it's just not very good when it gets up tiered. So overall, the Issei, is it worth it? Or the Issei, however you say it. It is a fun, derpy ship if you have friends. And since it's only $27, it's very possible that you can just get 1 or 2 of your buddies to pick up this ship, and you guys just go, you know, on voice comms or even just using the in-game chat and focus down and focus a target, control a flank. It's going to be a fun time. It's pretty darn goofy in that regards and pretty dumb. But as a ship by yourself, you're not going to have a fun time unless you're a good CV player. I'm sure a good CV player could do very, very well in this ship, especially if they've played battleships too. But I mean, battleships, they're a fairly easy class to play, of course, so put a good CV player in this ship, they're going to have a pretty good time. But for the average battleship player, is it worth picking up? I would still say so, because it's such a unique ship. It's a very historical ship, first of its kind in the game. So if you've got the money laying around, I'd say it's worth getting, because you can run into a couple of these in battle, invite them to a div, and they'll know exactly what's going on, and you guys can go ahead and be pretty trolly with your planes. But I mean, if you're not planning on buying this ship and playing with friends or divvying up with people, I would avoid it, because alone, again, it's suffering, especially at high tier. It just suffers so much. But that's my opinion on the ship. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 30,000 subs. We just passed 26,200 a few days ago, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend, and I hope to catch you guys in the next one.